In 1965, the country built something unusual into American law. It created a health program for people over 65, and then it did something quietly radical with the way the program would be paid for. It decided that the monthly premium for the doctor coverage, the part now called Medicare Part B, would not arrive as a bill you sat down and wrote a check for. It would be pulled straight out of your Social Security payment before that payment ever reached your bank. No envelope, no due date circled on a calendar. No moment where you actively decide to pay it. The money would simply be there one moment and gone the next, subtracted at the source, invisible by design. That single design choice is the reason most people over 65 have no real sense of how much they pay for Part B, or that they pay it at all. It does not feel like spending because you never touch the money. It feels like weather. It is just the amount that shows up, the number that lands, the figure you have learned to treat as fixed and final and beyond your control. And here's the part almost nobody is told. For a large group of people, that number is not fixed and final at all. There is a category of beneficiaries who, by the plain letter of federal and state rules, are not supposed to be carrying that premium themselves. Someone else is supposed to be covering it for them. The law already says so. The programs already exist. The money is already budgeted. And yet these same people keep watching that premium disappear from their checks month after month, year after year, because the one thing the system will never do on its own is walk over and switch it off. This week, as tens of millions of people look at a Part B premium that just climbed to its highest level in the program's history, that quiet gap between who is entitled to stop paying and who actually stops paying is costing an enormous number of households real money. This is the story of that gap. Where it comes from, exactly who falls into it, and the specific steps that close it. Start with the figure everyone is reacting to. For 2026, the standard Medicare Part B premium is $202.90 a month. A year earlier, it sat at $185. That is a jump of nearly $18 a month, an increase of close to 10% in a single year, and it is one of the steeper one-year moves the premium has ever made. Stretch that across a full 12 months, and the standard premium alone now costs a beneficiary just over $2,400 a year. Add the annual Part B deductible, which also rose to $283 for 2026, and the fixed cost of simply having outpatient coverage keeps climbing regardless of whether a person visits a doctor once or 50 times. Now hold two facts next to each other. The premium is rising faster than most retirement incomes, and a significant share of the people paying it are legally eligible to have it paid for them and do not know it. Every dollar the premium goes up widens the cost of that missed knowledge. The exemption was always valuable. This year, it is worth more than it has ever been worth, purely because the thing it exempts you from got more expensive. That is the entire reason this is worth your attention right now rather than someday. The bigger the bill, the bigger the mistake of paying one you were never required to pay. Before going any further, one distinction has to be nailed down, because misunderstanding it is exactly what keeps people trapped. Being eligible for one of these programs and actually being enrolled in one are not the same event. They are separated by a gap that nothing in the system crosses automatically. There is no office whose job it is to notice that your income qualifies you and then flip a switch on your behalf. There is no letter that arrives on a birthday announcing that your premium has been lifted. The rules that make you eligible and the paperwork that makes you enrolled live in two different places, and the bridge between them is a form that only gets filed if you file it. This is why eligibility statistics and enrollment statistics look so different. A person can qualify on paper for years, be fully within every income and asset limit the entire time, and still pay the premium the entire time because qualifying is a status and enrolling is an action. The status happens to you. The action is something you have to take. And an unclaimed benefit is worth exactly $0 no matter how completely you qualify for it. Keep that split in mind through everything that follows. The point of this is not just to tell you these programs exist, it is to get you across the bridge from eligible to enrolled, because that crossing is the only thing that changes the number in your account. There are two very different people who hear a topic like this and immediately decide it does not apply to them. Both of them are usually wrong, and both of them lose money by being wrong. The first is the person who assumes the income limits are far lower than they actually are. They hear the words low income attached to a program and they picture something for people in genuine crisis, and they quietly file themselves above the line without ever checking where the line is. But the thresholds for these programs reach well up into ordinary modest retirement territory, higher than most people guess. A single person and a married couple living on a normal fixed income, the kind of people who would never describe themselves as struggling, land inside the limits far more often than they expect. You do not get to know whether you qualify by feeling like you should. You only get to know by comparing your actual numbers to the actual thresholds, which are laid out plainly further down. The second person makes almost the opposite mistake. They assume that because their savings account has something in it, or because they own a paid-off home, they are automatically disqualified. But here is what surprises people. In a large number of states, the asset test for these programs has been loosened dramatically, and in several states, it has been eliminated entirely. On top of that, the things that most often count as assets do not include the house you live in, or in most places, the car you drive or the retirement accounts you hold. A person can look reasonably comfortable on paper and still fit inside the rules because the rules are not measuring the things they think are being measured. And there is a third reaction worth naming, because it is emotional rather than financial. Some people hear that a program helps with a bill, and they feel a flicker of pride, a sense that accepting help is somehow beneath them or that it belongs to someone needier. Set that feeling down for a moment. Every one of these programs is funded by the same public system these beneficiaries paid into across an entire working life. Using them is not taking charity. It is collecting on something already purchased, decade after decade, out of every paycheck. The person who refuses to look into this out of pride is not protecting their dignity. They are simply making a donation to a system that already has their money and does not need any more of it. To understand how the premium can be lifted, it helps to understand exactly how it is collected in the first place, because there is more than one channel and each one hides the cost slightly differently. For most beneficiaries, the premium is deducted directly from the monthly Social Security payment. The gross benefit is calculated, the premium is quietly removed, and the smaller net figure is what lands in the account. Because the person only ever sees the net number, the premium becomes almost impossible to feel. It is subtracted in a room the beneficiary never enters. For a smaller group, people who are not yet drawing Social Security but are enrolled in Part B, the premium arrives as a direct bill from Medicare, paid quarterly or through automatic withdrawal. These are the only beneficiaries who actually watch the money leave in a way they can see, and even they often treat it as a fixed cost of being alive at their age rather than something with any flexibility in it. Either way, the mechanism is built to feel automatic and unquestionable. And that is precisely the psychological trap. A cost that collects itself invisibly, on a schedule, without ever asking, trains the mind to stop examining it. People will comparison shop for a phone plan that costs a fraction of this every month, while never once asking whether the largest recurring health deduction of their retirement could be reduced to nothing. The invisibility is not an accident of the design. It is the design, and it is the first thing you have to consciously override. Now to the heart of it. There is a set of programs run by each state through its Medicaid system, but aimed specifically at people on Medicare, whose entire purpose is to pay Medicare costs for people whose income sits below certain lines. They are known collectively as the Medicare Savings Programs, and there are three that matter most here. They go by initials, which is part of why so few people recognize them. QMB, SLMB, and QI. The first is QMB, the Qualified Medicare Beneficiary Program. This is the broadest shield of the three. For 2026, in most states, the monthly income limit is roughly $1,350 for a single person and roughly $1,824 for a married couple. If you fall under those figures, QMB does not merely reduce your Part B premium. It pays the premium in full, and it goes considerably further. It also covers Medicare deductibles, coinsurance, and co-payments, and it carries a powerful legal protection. Providers who accept Medicare are barred by federal law from billing a QMB enrollee for those costs at all. For someone in this band, the effect is transformative. The premium vanishes from the check, and the out-of-pocket exposure at the doctor and hospital largely vanishes with it. The second is SLMB, the Specified Low-Income Medicare Beneficiary Program. The income window sits a step higher. For 2026, roughly $1,616 a month for a single person, and roughly $2,184 for a couple. SLMB is narrower in what it does. It pays the Part B premium, and only the Part B premium. But understand what that alone is worth at this year's rate. It is just over $2,400 a year that stops coming out of the Social Security check, permanently, for as long as you remain enrolled and eligible. It does not cover deductibles or copays the way QMB does, but for the premium itself, it is a clean and complete lift. The third is QI, the Qualifying Individual Program. The income limit rises again to roughly $1,816 a month for a single person, and roughly $2,455 for a couple in 2026. Like SLMB, QI pays the full Part B premium. But QI carries one important wrinkle that the others do not. It is funded through a capped federal grant, which means each state has a limited pool of money for it. And applications are handled on a first-come, first-served basis within the year. That single detail changes the strategy. With QI, waiting is not neutral. Applying early in the year is meaningfully better than applying late because the funding can run down. This is one of the few places in the entire benefit system where speed genuinely matters. Across all three programs, the asset limits, where they still apply, generally sit around $9,950 for a single person and $14,910 for a couple. But read those numbers carefully because of what they leave out. The home you live in does not count. In most states, one vehicle does not count. Household goods do not count. In many states, retirement accounts do not count. And a standard monthly income disregard of $20 is built into the calculation before your income is even measured against the limit, which quietly nudges more people under the line than the raw numbers suggest. Two more facts sit on top of all of this, and they change the picture further. First, several states have thrown out the asset test entirely, so savings do not affect eligibility there at all, and at least one large state that had removed its asset test has reinstated one at a very high level, far above the federal figure. The rules genuinely vary by where you live, which is exactly why you cannot rule yourself out from a national chart. Second, and this is the part people almost never hear, enrolling in any one of these three programs automatically qualifies you for a separate federal benefit called Extra Help, which slashes the cost of prescription drugs under Medicare Part D. You do not fill out a second application. Crossing the bridge into a savings program pulls the drug cost benefit along behind it. So the person who thinks they are solving one bill is very often solving two at once. Here's the fact that should genuinely stop you. By the government's own estimates, more than 2 million people who qualify right now for at least one of these programs are not enrolled in any of them. They meet the income rules. They meet the asset rules. They are, in the eyes of the law, entitled to have their premium paid. And they are paying it anyway, every single month, for no reason other than that the enrollment never happened. Sit with the size of that. This is not a story about a rare loophole that a handful of insiders exploit. It is the opposite. It is a benefit that millions of ordinary people are already qualified for and simply never claim. The failure is not on the side of the people. It is on the side of a system that determines eligibility in one place and requires action in another and builds no reliable bridge between the two. Why does the gap stay so wide? Several reasons stack on top of each other. The programs are administered by state Medicaid offices, but they serve Medicare beneficiaries. And that split leaves many people unsure which door to even knock on. The names are initials that mean nothing to an ordinary person, so the programs are invisible in casual conversation the way a plainly named benefit would not be. There is the pride reflex, already mentioned, and underneath all of it is the same structural silence that runs through the whole system. No agency has taken ownership of walking each eligible person to the finish line, so most eligible people never move at all. The result is a benefit that is generous, permanent, and hiding in plain sight, and a population that keeps overpaying beside it, not because they were denied, but because they were never told to ask. There is a second, completely separate path that can also reduce or raise the Part B premium, and it is important to understand exactly how it differs, because the two are often confused and they work nothing alike. This second path is called the Part B giveback, officially the Part B premium reduction. It has existed since 2003, and it is not a low-income program at all. It has no income test, but it comes with a significant condition. It is available only through certain Medicare Advantage plans, the private plans also known as Part C that replaced original Medicare with a bundled insurer-run alternative. Here's the mechanism. Medicare Advantage plans receive a fixed monthly payment from the federal government for each person they enroll. Some plans choose to hand a portion of that payment back to their members in the form of a reduced Part B premium. The reduction is applied automatically. If your premium comes out of your Social Security check, less is taken and your deposit grows. If you pay Medicare directly, your bill shrinks. You do not file a claim or chase anyone. Once you are in a plan that offers it, the money simply stops leaving. But now, the honest part, because this route has trade-offs, the first route does not. The amount varies enormously. For 2026, only about a quarter of Medicare Advantage plans offer a giveback at all, roughly 1,300 plans out of more than 5,000. And that number actually shrank from the year before. Among plans that do offer it, the reductions range wildly, from as little as 10 cents a month at the bottom to the full $202.90 at the very top. Many of the plans advertising a giveback offer only a small partial amount. A full premium giveback exists, but it is far from the norm. And there is a deeper caution. Choosing a plan for its giveback means choosing a Medicare Advantage plan, and that is a whole decision unto itself, not a free add-on. Medicare Advantage plans come with provider networks, referral and prior authorization rules, and their own cost structures for actual care. A plan that hands back $40 a month but restricts which doctors you can see or makes you clear hurdles before certain treatments may cost you far more in access and aggravation than it returns in premium. The giveback should never be evaluated on its own. It is one line on a plan you have to judge as a complete package. This is the less glamorous truth of Route 2, and anyone who sells you the giveback number without the plan around it is selling you half a picture. So who is each path actually for? If your income sits within the Medicare Savings Program limits, Route 1 is almost always the stronger choice, and it is not close. It lifts the premium without forcing you out of original Medicare. It can cover far more than the premium if you land in the QMB band, and it drags the prescription drug benefit along with it. There is no network trade-off, no plan to second guess. It is the cleaner exemption. If your income sits above those limits, Route 1 is closed to you, and the giveback becomes the path worth examining, but only with clear eyes. It is genuinely useful for the person who is already going to choose a Medicare Advantage plan and simply wants to select, among comparable good plans in their area, one that also happens to reduce the premium. It is a poor reason, on its own, to abandon original Medicare for a plan that does not otherwise fit your health needs. The two routes are not competing offers. They're aimed at two different people, sorted mostly by income. The task is not to pick the more exciting one. It is to find out honestly which one you are actually standing in front of. Consider a composite case, assembled from common situations rather than any single real individual, to show how the pieces fit together. Picture a widow, call her Eleanor, in her mid-70s, living alone in a small home she paid off long ago. Her income is a modest Social Security check and a very small pension. And when you add them up, she lands just under the SLMB limit for a single person. She has a few $1,000s in savings and nothing else that counts against her. For years, the Part B premium came out of her check every month. And each year it grew a little, and each year she assumed there was nothing to be done about it, because that is simply what the number was. Nobody had ever told Eleanor that her income put her squarely inside a program that would pay that premium in full. The home did not disqualify her. The modest savings did not disqualify her. She was eligible the entire time, and paying the entire time at once. When the situation was finally looked at properly, one application to her state's program lifted the premium off her check permanently. And because enrolling did it, the drug cost benefit switched on alongside it without a second form. Nothing about Eleanor's life changed. She did not move, sell anything, or alter a single habit. The only thing that changed was how much of her own income stayed in her own account at the end of each month. And the crucial point is this: she was not gaining a new advantage or getting away with anything. She was finally collecting something she had already qualified for across years of quietly overpaying. The story is common precisely because the silence that produced it is common. There's a pattern that follows any wave of public attention to Medicare money, and it is worth naming plainly because this topic will draw it. Whenever premiums change, or the word giveback starts circulating, or people begin talking about money coming back to them, the volume of scam calls, texts, and emails impersonating official agencies rises sharply. The reason is simple. Confusion is the raw material fraud runs on, and a subject like this manufactures confusion at scale. Scammers understand, better than almost anyone, that a person who has just heard they might be owed money is a person primed to act quickly and ask too few questions. The scripts are consistent. A caller who sounds entirely official tells you there's a problem with your premium, or that a refund or giveback is waiting and needs to be released, or that your benefits will be suspended unless you verify your information immediately, right now, before you hang up. Then comes the ask: a social security number, a bank account, a payment to unlock the money that is supposedly yours. None of that is how the real system behaves. Genuine changes to your benefit are communicated through official mail, not through urgent, same-day phone demands. The real programs do not call to threaten suspension unless you read out your bank details on the spot, so the rule is simple and absolute. If a message manufactures urgency and asks for financial information or payment to release money that is supposedly owed to you, that is not the benefit system. That is theft wearing its clothing. Hang up and verify independently using a number you already had on file. Never a number or link the caller handed you. The exemption in this video is real. The person who calls out of nowhere offering to process it for you is not. Step back and look at the shape of the whole thing, because this is not a one-time problem that gets solved once everyone hears about it. It is a structural pattern that renews itself annually. Every year, the premium is announced. Every year, it tends to rise. Every year, a fresh group of people crosses into Medicare, or loses a spouse, or sees their income drop into eligibility for the first time, and that new group arrives with the same blank slate as the group before it. The eligibility rules sit in one part of the system, the enrollment action sits in another, and no automatic connection has ever been built between them. So each year the same benefit goes unclaimed by a new cohort, for the same reason, producing the same overpayment. The deeper mismatch is between a cost that moves and an awareness that does not. The premium updates on a schedule, mechanically, every year. Knowledge of the exemptions does not update on any schedule at all. It spreads only when someone deliberately spreads it. That imbalance is why the gap never closes on its own. The expensive side of the equation is automated. The side that would save people money depends entirely on human attention that the system never prompts. Nothing about this requires a change in the law to matter for your own account. The programs already exist. The rules already favor a huge number of people who are not using them. The only missing piece, every year, for every new group, is the decision to check and the willingness to file. None of the following costs anything. Each one is a concrete step that changes your real outcome regardless of what the broader system does. First, find your actual numbers and compare them to the actual limits rather than guessing. Add up your monthly income and set it next to the 2026 thresholds, roughly $1,350 single and $1,824 for a couple for the most generous program, rising to roughly $1,816 single and $2,455 for a couple for the highest tier. If you are anywhere near those lines, do not disqualify yourself in your head. The disregards and the asset exclusions mean the real cutoff is often more forgiving than the raw figure looks. Second, make one phone call to your state health insurance assistance program, the free counseling service that exists in every state specifically to help Medicare beneficiaries. Ask them to screen you for the Medicare Savings Programs and to tell you exactly how your own state's rules differ from the national figures, because those differences, especially around assets, can decide the whole thing. They can also point you to your state's application, since these programs are filed through the state. Third, if you qualify for one of the savings programs, apply. And if you are looking at the QI program specifically, apply early in the year rather than later, because its funding is capped and handled first come, first served. Fourth, if your income is above the savings program limits and you are already choosing among Medicare Advantage plans during open enrollment, look specifically at whether any strong plan in your area, one you would be happy with on its own merits, also offers a Part B giveback. Treat the giveback as a tiebreaker between good plans, never as a reason to accept a plan that does not otherwise serve your health. Fifth, whatever route applies to you, verify everything through official channels you contact yourself, and treat any unsolicited offer to handle it for you as the warning sign it is. The Part B premium was engineered to be the most effortless bill in a retiree's life, a cost that collects itself so smoothly that most people forget they are paying it. That smoothness is exactly what has hidden the far more important truth sitting right beside it. For a very large number of people, the premium is not a fixed fact of aging. It is a switch that can be turned off, either lifted entirely through a program they already qualify for, or reduced through a plan they may already be considering. The system that created the premium will never volunteer to remove it. It announces the cost loudly, on schedule, every year, and it announces the exemption to almost no one. That imbalance is the whole game, and it will keep quietly draining accounts for as long as the people it applies to assume it does not apply to them. So the safest thing anyone paying that premium can do this year is refuse to treat the number as settled. Check your own income against the real limits. Ask the free counselors who exist precisely for this. Find out, specifically and for yourself, whether you are one of the millions already entitled to stop paying. The premium takes itself automatically. Getting it lifted is the one part you have to do on purpose. If this was useful, send it to one person you know who is over 65 and paying that premium without ever having questioned it. It costs you nothing, and it might quietly hand them back more than $2,000 a year that was theirs the whole time. One last note that matters. This is general education, not personal financial, legal, or benefits advice. These programs are administered by the states, and the rules, especially the asset rules, genuinely vary depending on where you live and on your specific circumstances. Always confirm your own situation with your state's counseling program or qualified professional before you act.